This is going to be the third of my videos discussing science, the topics of science and spirituality, and how I don't feel the two are mutually exclusive, as well as the issues I have with both. So this one deals with autism and how certain pseudoscientific people or spiritual people who think that they're being scientific um, are try to cure autism. Like I have said, um, I actually, if somebody is very, very severely disabled, like severely autistic, and it's hard, they can't eat normally or control their bowel functions, they have stomach issues, and they can't talk or walk or any combination, and it's limiting their freedom to be whatever they want to be. I feel that it's kind of unfair to keep them that way, and possibly cures not for the autism itself, but for the severe debilitating symptoms um, would help them. I wouldn't. The difference in that, I wouldn't say that they should be made neurotypical. If anything, they should just be cured to the point where they're mildly autistic, because then they have more freedom to have interests that deviate from the norm. But they're physically freer to be who they are. So, however, mild autism, which is what I have, I was diagnosed with Asperger's at age 6, but as a kid, some autistic kids now, they may start severely autistic, but then they get better, and sometimes they might start normal, well, not normal, but mildly autistic, and then have a severely autistic breakdown, but then get better after that. I know that Temple Grandin started off severely autistic, but then she got better, and now she's considered mildly autistic. And with my good friend and brother, who I know well and I'm very close with, Stephen Shore, he's my brother in Judaism and autism both. He started out mildly autistic, as for what I've read from his book. I'd have to ask him more, but he did have a severely autistic breakdown, but then got better, and now he's mildly autistic, and he's the sweetest guy. So, in my, however, in my case, I never showed any severe symptoms. I never had severe autism. I could speak at a normal age. In fact, I think I might have started speaking earlier than most babies do, because I've always been a chatterbox and I've never been able to shut up. It's getting me to shut up that's the real, different deviation from the norm for me. So, and I've never had those digestive or gastrointestinal issues that some people who go through a severe autistic period or who are severely autistic have. So, but anyway, um, so that's another point, before you try to treat a severely autistic kid by curing them, wait and see until they get better, because they might just end up mildly autistic and it might take them a while without ABA, without coercion, without any, negative, hurtful things, with vaccinating them, because you need your shots to stay alive or to risk not being alive prematurely. So, anyway. Now, I was going to say about autism, and that an issue I really have with some people in the New Age movement, and especially those who are into alternative New Age medicine, is that they often tend to see autism, any kind of autism, even Asperger's syndromes or mild autism, as something, a test or a trial from whatever God they believe in, to be challenged, to challenge the individual with it, and to really, eventually overcome it. See, one thing I don't like about certain spiritual systems is that they tend to see the soul as just this glowing speck of light with no details, no shapes, ultimately formless, and you are expected to change all those what they consider minor details, and what people who are neurotypical often derogatorily call fixations for us, especially if what we're interested in is not considered typical by neurotypicals. So that bias kind of goes into some of these spiritual people who also might be anti-vax. The anti-vaxxers sometimes tend to have this idea that every soul is just a glowing, formless light, and the ultimate goal of the soul is to get beyond the flesh and to transcend. And uh, transcend all the different details of life. Then conversely, you have some atheists and some skeptics who say, you know, why do you want, I don't care about transcending, or even if there is an afterlife, because the physical, the here and now, all these details are great. Some atheists tend to be more into the details and fixations, than spiritual people. But again, like I said in my second science video, I feel that this poses a false dilemma between enjoy all the details of life and your interests, but don't have an afterlife after you die. But you can have an afterlife on the condition that you follow rules, and there are things you can't do and have to do. So in this case, it would be you'd have to transcend all the all the details, and the afterlife couldn't be about details. The ultimate goal would be, just formless light merging with the light, which honestly, it's a concept I don't understand, and I respect people who believe it, but I kind of honestly find it really boring and, sad. So, anyway, what I was going to say is that um, these anti-vaxxer people who tend to have these new age beliefs about the soul, think that it is wrong to consider for somebody with autism to consider autism a part of their soul, instead of something that their formless light soul will eventually conquer and transcend. So, from their eyes, often refusing to vaccinate a child or using abusive medical new age therapy techniques that don't work and that are often very harmful to cure autism is, in their mind, one way to help the child transcend the physical reality and its trappings, such as in this case autism, and the tendency of autistics to like details, to like different aspects of the physical world, different material things. So that's really hurtful. And so you do have to vaccinate your child, as I've mentioned before in one of my first videos, in that because um, even if you don't want to believe it, it's a fact. Herd immunity is dependent on largely on vaccination, because even if you choose not to vaccinate your child, some kids and adults cannot be vaccinated due to certain medical conditions, and only the herd immunity of most people being vaccinated helps prevent them from catching the disease that the vaccines prevent, but that they can't have because they can't have the vaccines for health reasons. So, anyway, um, what was it? Um, so anyway, autism is something that I actually consider part of my soul. Yeah, I will always have it in the afterlife, and now it is not something I think I should transcend. I agree a lot with Temple Grandin in that if I could snap my fingers and be non-autistic, I wouldn't. It is part of who I am. Now, how it is part of my soul, it is, in fact, it is related, it is part of my otherkin, therian, and furry soul, too. It is deeply tied to my not being completely human, and with good reason. In Temple Grandin's book, she has often mentioned that autism, she feels, is basically the gateway between the human and the non-human world, and that non-human animals, in many ways, are autistic. So, this is not just Temple Grandin isn't really the first person to recognize this. All over the world, a lot of indigenous cultures, like who lived close to the land and had earth-based interspecies beliefs, could see that if one of their people had some kind of autism, they could see the sort of similarities they had with non-human animals, and would often consider those people to be shapeshifters, or share the soul of animals within their body with a human soul, to be basically special creatures linked to the land spirits, the tree spirits, and especially the animal spirits. So, in no way, in certain cultures, they didn't, consider autism as anything to transcend, but as part of not only the soul, but part of somebody's therian, otherkin, furry, human-animal hybrid soul. So, and another thing I will say that the history of autism and helping people with autism has a long history within the Jewish community. So, Undoubtedly, a lot of Jewish people who practice Judaism consider autism spiritual and don't consider it something that somebody should transcend. So, um, autism is often considered part of somebody's soul in Judaism. Um, so those are some issues, some examples in that, in which, you know, spirituality does not consider autism or anything linked to, you know, material stuff or to details or fixations, something to transcend. So, um, what is that? Um, Now I'm going to talk a little bit about Western medicine versus alternative medicine. So, most pagan and New Age people are sensible enough to still use Western medicine if they need to. Most of them, from what I've seen, are not anti-vax, but some of them are, and some of them are completely against Western medicine. Now, if you're an adult, you have a choice, unless, of course, as I've mentioned, that choice weakens herd immunity and compromises the health of those who can't take Western medicine for certain reasons with their health. Then it's not just about your choice, it's about their rights too. But the same thing is that a lot of these people who completely oppose Western medicine, they think that the world was a paradise where herbs could cure everything before evil Western doctors took over. They do not give any Western medicine to their kids. If their kids get ear infections, they won't give them antibiotics, they won't vaccinate their kids. This is extremely dangerous because children's immune systems are still growing, and a lot of children died before Western medicine. But it's not just about antibiotics or vaccines either. Think of like sex changes for transgender people. And that's sadly what some New Age people are even transphobic, and they'll say, because wanting to be a different gender sometimes, doesn't sit well with some of them who believe that the soul is formless, and so wanting so bad to have another form when you should be focused on transcending beyond the flesh and merging with the light. Sometimes some New Agers who are against modern medicine are actually prejudiced against that. So it's the same thing with other kin and with human-animal hybrids. Some of them don't like the way we want to get tail implants or wing implants for the same reason. But, only Western medicine can really do that. Western medicine has really good anesthesia, and although alternative medicine has at times had anesthesia, for procedures such as gender reassignment and species reassignment, which modern Western medicine is still working at. It's still in its very infant stages, but I believe it can be done and improved. So, and for that matter, some types of gender reassignment, like especially for women who want to be men, it's still kind of in its fledgling stages. But I also believe that that can be improved upon and made better. So, who knows if the alternative anesthesia would work as well for, gender or species reassignment. I don't know. So, um, the thing about it is that, and also if you injure yourself, if you break bones, all kinds of things only Western modern medicine can do. I also kind of hesitate to use the term Western medicine because I find that term kind of racist, and for the reason being that a lot of modern doctors are not just white, they're from every ethnicity and race you can find, and the fact that, Western doesn't necessarily mean modern. Ancient Greek, ancient Roman, and biblical medicine are all technically Western because the ancient Hebrews, the ancient Greeks and Romans, and the medieval Christians are all considered people from Western society. So you have Western medicine that is alternative, and you have modern medicine performed by non-Western people. So I prefer to use the term modern medicine over Western medicine. So, and I will say that one issue that I used to have with Western medicine, I used to think it was completely evil for the reason that I am a victim of the old finger stapler, finger prick torture from the 80s. The reason that they don't usually they know not to do it now. A lot of modern doctors, in fact, consider it a human rights violation that they think Amnesty International and the UN should ban. You always have the few assholes who still think it's the best way because they're ignorant jerks. but fewer of them exist today. And when they do prick your finger, there is a way to prick the finger that is not torture. It is a very tiny needle, and it pricks the side, not the tip. The tip is where some of the most sensitive nerve endings in the body are, and I was sadly subjected to that as a kid. The physical scar kind of, not the physical scar, but the emotional scar from the physical pain still remains. So, anyway, I, I kind of changed my stance on Western medicine when more of the doctors I saw, really said that they considered that wrong, that that was barbaric, they really wanted to ban that. And after I learned that there was no way I could get if I wanted a tail implant, there's no way that alternative medicine could give that to me. But modern medicine has the potential to give that to me. So it goes back to that idea that, some new age people have, that you have to deal with the hand that you've been dealt, because spiritually God wants you to suffer in order to learn, and he tests you, and there's no way you can do about it. You have to lose parts of who you are, because those are just details and fixations that in their eyes are superficial compared to your ultimate formless soul merging with the light. So some of these people with the same beliefs are also eager to think that Western medicine is evil because of the fact that it can prevent that transcendence. It can prevent you from losing the ability to enjoy fixations or details, or due to medical reasons. So it's for that reason that you know, I really do not approve. I think that anybody who is completely dependent on alternative medicine and doesn't believe in Western medicine at all is making a big, big mistake. So that's just some of my views on medical science. So this is probably the last video I'm going to be doing for a while that's scientifically related, but I just going to say that I can only say it, like Einstein, and that you really can't have religion with science. One without the other is just crazy and pointless and senseless. So, oh, one thing I was going to say, um, never mind, I forgot. So, yeah. So, um, so that's that you might hear me talk more about science in the future and my opinions on science and stuff like that. But this will be this will be maybe my last one for a while. So I'll see you later.